Even though there was a decrease in prices for townhouses in Calgary this past month, this is currently one of the best performing property types in the whole city. If you're curious to see what Crab has to say about townhouses this past month, then go ahead and pause the video and give this a read. But if not, my name's Adam Fife and I'm your Calgary Realtor. If you want to chat about anything real estate related, then go ahead and click the very first link in the description to book a call with me. Now, I promise I'm pretty easy to talk to. So here are the numbers for townhouses for Calgary as a whole. Now let's get this going by looking at the year-to-date stats package for the whole city. And let's start this off with prices. That's why most people are watching these individual updates. Now, you can see that townhouses have finally fallen below $360,000. The benchmark for townhouses has stayed relatively flat over the past 8 months, plus or minus a few $1,000s. Now, townhouses have held very strong as affordable product in Calgary is still in demand as the interest rates increase. We are now at $359,000, $5,000 from the highs that we saw in June, and upwards of $44,000 compared to last year's prices. Now, sales in this sector have completely slowed down across the city from the highs that we saw in March, and this is fairly common for the month of November. But just look at the difference from March's 709 sales. Moving along, the days on market have actually fallen by 2 days now to 35 days. New listings have decreased and inventory has also decreased, which is good to see. Now, let's remember that this is all of Calgary. We need to break it down into quadrants and communities to get the full picture of what's going on around town. But before that, I really do like this next graph because you can clearly see the wild run up in price and then it leveling off over the past several months. Now, the blue bar is inventory, the green bar is sales, and the red line is price. It's pretty crazy to see just how in sync both inventory and sales have decreased together. This has helped prices somewhat stabilize as they slowly decrease. A $5,000 reduction from the highs that we saw in May and June really isn't much in the grand scheme of things. When I go into a negotiation situation with clients, asking $5,000 off an asking price really isn't complicated depending on what it's listed at and what the comparables are, but it's something to note here that the prices are fairly flat. If you look at the wild price increase from December to April, now that's something to note. Look at just how hot that market was. Townhouses are holding strong, and I fully anticipate for them to continue to hold strong right through 2023 as we continue to see a large increase in net migration from out-of-province buyers. Okay, so moving along, this chart will allow us to break down each quadrant and help us understand what's going on around the city. And the first thing I want to highlight is the average sales to new listing ratio for townhouses, which is 99%, which means that 100% of homes listed in this past month were sold. Now, when you refer to the previous graph, you can see that there's still inventory left over at the end of the month, but it is great to see the number of sales matching the number of new homes coming to the market. That will help stabilize property prices in this sector. Next, people want to know what the price point is in their quadrant, and you can find that here. You can see that the only quadrant to see a sizable increase month over month were townhouses in the southeast. And I would like to add that buyers are slowly gaining the advantage, especially going into the winter months when historically activity slows down. Next, you can see that the city center saw the biggest decrease this past month with a negative 2.77%, dropping from $519,000 to $504,000 in 1 month, which is still quite expensive for a townhouse in Calgary. Year over year, like most other property types, we're still seeing a 10% increase. Now, when shifting gears and talking more about the supply and demand factor, every quadrant is under 2.5 months of supply, which tells me that they're still in a seller's market favoring the seller. Even though the buyers are slowly gaining the upper hand, the caveat is that the sellers need to list their homes competitively to reap that advantage. Now, this is a great time to talk about how strategy is key in every market. Just because the overall price has stayed relatively flat or even fallen in some areas, every situation looks differently. Okay, next, let's look to see what price points are the most active in Calgary. And you can quickly see that the $300,000 price point is by far the most active price point in the sector. You should also consider that as a part of your strategy. Is the price point that you're stepping into very active and competitive, or is it a little bit slower like the $500,000 to $600,000 range? But that's all I got for you folks. Book a call with me if you want to dive into these numbers in a lot more detail, as this was only a brief overview. There's so much to unpack here, and I just don't want to overdo it in one video. So make sure to subscribe and show some support by leaving me a comment. So until next time, peace.